Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I believe it is afternoon on the continent. It's still the morning here in the UK. My name is Mike Nicklen, and I'm an account manager here at the config team. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Danny Clark. Danny, do you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. So I'm Danny Clark. I'm a SAP pre-sales consultant for the config team. So I will be supporting Mike with this presentation today, and I'll be doing the pre-built demonstration shortly. Okay, so lovely to meet you all.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. And just in terms of an agenda today, we can see that. So I'm going to give a brief introduction to the config team to show you who we are and what we're about. Then we'll have a look at what challenges we're seeing currently in the supply chain, and there are lots of them. Then I'll give you a brief overview of our product, which hopes to address some of those challenges, called PreBilt. And then instead of talking about it, it's better to see the product itself. So Danny will run through a demonstration, and then we have some time at the end for questions and answers. But as Tracy mentioned at the start, please put them in the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer them. The session will also be recorded. It is being recorded, so you'll have a copy of it afterwards. Okay, so the config team, we were established 27 years ago. So we're a well-established SAP consultancy specializing in the supply chain. We have over 100 people now in the team, mainly based here in the UK, in the northwest of the UK, near Manchester. However, we have recently opened an office in Australia, and we also have plans to open an office in the United States. So we are actively working with more than 75 customers all around the world. Our business can be summarized by the triangle that you can see there on the right-hand side. So we offer traditional SAP consultancy, we offer support once you've gone live, we offer enhanced solutions, of which one of those is our product PreBilt that you will see shortly. And underpinning everything that we do is innovation, because we know we have worked in SAP for long enough that SAP can be difficult to use, and it's good to have these products to help out and make it easier to use. So, as everybody knows, we are in the midst of a global pandemic, and the config team approached this slightly differently to a lot of other companies. We didn't lose any people at all. We didn't make any people redundant. Instead, we invested in our core product team. So the product that you will see today has really developed over the last couple of years. So much so that it is now SAP certified. It is available on the SAP App Store as well. We are a gold SAP partner, and currently we have been shortlisted for the Company of the Year award with Investors in People. So that's something we are very excited about. Okay, next one, please, Danny. So our expertise, as I mentioned on the previous slide, our expertise is very much around the SAP supply chain, but we have been asked by customers to branch out into other areas. So you will see some other modules from SAP there that touch very closely to the supply chain. But our main expertise remains in the SAP supply chain. So what challenges are we seeing in that supply chain today? So where customers have mobile solutions, we're seeing very outdated technology. We're seeing problems with things like warehouse black spots. So where the Wi-Fi drops out using traditional SAP RF technology, the user is kicked out and they have to log back in again, and they have to process their transaction again. Very, very frustrating. We're also seeing very complex training requirements and very difficult screens to use. People are onboarded, but they don't know how to work the mobile devices, and they need complex training, lengthy training as well. We're also seeing lots of manual processes. Even today, we're seeing lots of paperwork in the supply chain. Excel spreadsheets as well being used instead of taking advantage of SAP. This is leading to inaccurate data, which obviously then leads to inefficiencies. We're also seeing very complex architecture. Projects are taking a long time to deploy and are therefore very expensive. And then once they have been deployed, they're not very flexible. They're very difficult to change, and you need expensive development resource to change them, be that ABAP development or Fiori development, for example. So our product PreBilt goes some way to addressing some of those problems. So let's have a look at it. So what is it? It's a suite of out-of-the-box applications for the whole of the supply chain, right through from purchase requisition, purchase order approval on the left-hand side, all the way through to proof of delivery, returns, logistics, last mile logistics, etc. The bit we're going to concentrate on today, though, is the warehouse, the four walls of the warehouse. So we can zoom into that there. And these sort of transactions and processes, so production related processes and all of the processes associated with the warehouse. So what does it give us? Okay, we're seeing customers reporting to us that they have removed 80% of the paperwork from the shop floor and from the warehouse floor. Massive improvements in stock take time. Something that was taking a long time previously with lots of resources is being done very easily now. We're seeing 70+% improvement in that stock take time. All of that is leading through to 99% plus percent accuracy, which obviously in turn leads to improved efficiency. I mentioned training previously being long-winded sometimes. With this solution, training is dramatically reduced. We're even seeing customers not even running training sessions. They are just handing the devices to the users, and it's so intuitive. Away you go, you can work with this solution. And overall, we're seeing 30% increased productivity. So I think, Danny, if we go to the next slide, yeah, that's enough of me talking about the product. Let's see it now. So Danny, if you want to take over and take us through the demonstration.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mike. Okay, so PreBilt is our highly configurable out-of-the-box mobile scanning solution for SAP. So that will take your scanning capability to the next level, removing the need for ABAP and giving you a quick and simple approach to configuration. So PreBilt is device agnostic and can be deployed across multiple different device types. So handhelds, mobile phones such as Android, iOS, as well as fork truck mounted screens or even onto tablets. So it means that one design can be deployed across multiple different device types, giving the operation maximum flexibility when deploying a mobile scanning solution. Now, PreBilt also supports ERP ECC6 all the way up to the latest S/4HANA. So we also, as well, that innovation part that Mike was touched on, we've also got the capability as well that PreBilt is future-proof and can be integrated into the latest hands-free and voice hardware. So it gives you that out-of-the-box solution that fulfills the entire supply chain requirement. So you could have part of voice in as your picking process. You could have RealWare as part of a plant maintenance process, supported by all of the other PreBilt solutions that you have within the supply chain. So we've also as well developed over the last 18 months the PreBilt for Analytics application. So there is an increasing need for real-time data so businesses can react to the current situations quickly and operate more efficiently. So this has led to the design and development of this analytics application. So we all know that SAP is absolutely jam-packed full of data, but it's always in multiple different transactions. So you have to go through all of these. Someone sat at a PC terminal, going through each of these SAP transactions, pulling data and using something like Power BI or Excel to view the analytical data. So what we've done is PreBilt for Analytics pulls the information directly from SAP in real time and can be displayed on a mobile device like the image is showing, or on a PC screen, or even, as we see now, the large display wallboards in operations. So you can display the key metrics that are relevant to that particular area. So as they're also generated and pulled directly from SAP in real time, means that you always have the most up-to-date view of the operation. So warehouse production managers can have the a live status of all the activities across the end-to-end operation. So there's no more need for like gut feel. You're actually working with real data. So we also as well use a color coding as well of green, amber and red. So as long as everything is within the threshold, all of the metrics will stay in green and as they're displayed. Then as a metric goes past that threshold, it will change to amber. And then eventually, if it's not controlled, it will then also then go into red. Now, when it goes into red, we also have email notification as well. So a group of people can be notified that a particular metric is now requiring urgent attention. So you also as well don't need to be connected to the site's Wi-Fi. You can be outside of the corporate network. So as a manager about to start their shift, they can look on their mobile phone and see the metrics of the operation as it's currently happening, and they can then have a view of exactly what they're walking into at the start of their shift, meaning that handovers will be more meaningful because you are talking about live actual data. So we're going to jump into the demonstration. So just so the demonstration is nice and clear, that there's a process storyboard. That's the role of the operator that we'll talk through as we go through. We'll have on the right hand side the handheld device. So for the sake of this, I'm using a Honeywell CT60, but any handheld device would be compatible. It has barcode scanning, has a built-in camera, and it also has touch screen, which we'll utilize. Now, I will go into SAP at a couple of points just to validate the process. So you'll just see the actions that were taken using PreBilt and how they've interacted to SAP. It's not an essential part of the process. So just back into that overview again of the warehouse. So these are the applications that we have through the EWM mobile solution. You also have the same through IM and WM, but the example today we'll show you will be the EWM unload and put away process. So the process is going to begin with an inbound delivery arriving on site. The ASN, the advanced shipping notification, has been received by the SAP system, so the pallets are known and the delivery is known and expected. So the operator goes to their device and selects the inbound delivery and then receive the handling unit. Now at this point they can scan or they can type in the delivery number. So taking all those awkward screens away from SAP, we can refine everything that is shown. We can even pull images directly out of the SAP system and display it on your device. So for things like vendor conformance, you can review the item that you are receiving, that it matches exactly what it is that you've actually got in front of you. Now, going through these screens, we've removed the function keys. So where they're going through the unload and the goods receipt process, typically this would be a function button on screen. But what we've done is we've removed the unnecessary clutter and we've placed them at the bottom under the three-dot menu. So again, given a very modern look and feel, and all users today are used to using this type of approach. Now, as well, we've got the operator has just gone through and confirmed the final destination. Now, on the next handling unit, we're going to scan. We're going to create a different behavior. So throughout our configuration, we have multiple enhancement points where we can drop in configuration sets that will trigger a particular behavior. So if we want to activate the camera, at this point in the process, we can now, as we're showing a shortage, we can now capture an image using our device. So the image of the non-conforming pallet is captured, and that information is stored within SAP. So the operator can continue to complete the put away process. Now, the manipulation of all of these screens, where we can have them either placed how they are, we can put them side by side. This is all done through our simple configuration layer, and we'll have a demonstration of that shortly. So once we've just put this pallet away, we've completed the process, we've scanned the pallet into the final destination. And you can see we have things like hint text that are shown on screen with a scan handling unit. So again, this is something we can add to help the operators go through their learning journey. So if you have temporary staff that come to your site through busy peaks, you can have the information displayed that to help them know exactly what part of the pallet label or the delivery note they need to input at this point. So if we just jump into SAP, this is the warehouse monitor, and there's the delivery that we're processing. We have an attachments icon. This is the service for objects attachments, and we can see the image has been captured. And this is where it's displayed in SAP. So the typical approach with ABAP is that you would have to go through a functional and technical specification. So you'd have to design those first and write that document before it can be submitted and then approved. So that process alone will take days, weeks, months to go through that initial review process. And then as you go through the changing code, so you're going to have to manipulate code at this point to build the screens that you want. You'd have to start off in your development area and implement those changes. You'd have to then rigorously test that you've not broken an already working process, and just make sure that everything has worked correctly, and then go through the relevant areas, moving it from development into quality before it can go into production. And each time has to be rigorously tested that you've not broken functionality that already existed. And of course, there is that risk that whenever you do any code changes in SAP, you could break something. Now, the approach with PreBilt is that it's kind of like the Lego bricks, where we've pre-configured and built these applications already, and we've used like a Lego brick approach, where it's the selection screen is a Lego brick, and all of the actions associated to that is also a Lego brick. So you can have what's displayed on that screen and the actions that are taken from it. Also being able to have things like your print outputs or your input screens, having that information, you can then build how you want your application to work and remove the parts that you don't. Like I say, it would be already pre-configured. Now, if part of that process was bespoke or very customized to your operation, you can also then, we can build those particular parts of customization for you and drop that into the pre-built suite of configuration sets. So just on the example that's shown there, you've got a put away and a bin to bin application. Essentially, it's the same stock movements application in WM. But what we can do is we can add different configuration to different parts and different processes. So if it's just a put away, you're going to just go through the usual input screens, the usual different messages and the different outputs and selection screens. Whereas a bin to bin application, you might also want to have the camera trigger so that if you're removing damaged items from the pick face or from the warehouse to a damages quality inspection area, you can capture a photograph of that, which is then stored with the pallet or with the warehouse order or transfer order. So you've got record of those going through the processes. So if we just look at an example of the configuration. So on the left-hand side is the WM configuration for the PreBilt suite, and this is for the picking application. So on the right-hand side is the CT60 device on the picking screen. So it's showing the transfer order items, the materials, the storage bins, and the amounts to pick. Now, at the bottom there, we have the pick HU. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop in a hint text to give a prompt to the picker that they need to create a pick handling unit at this point. So we'll drop in the text to create the handling unit. We just save that and come back out. Now in the application, you just go back one page and then go back in, and you see that the changes instantly happened. So again, we want to change the layout. So we're going to take away the transfer order item. So looking on the lines, you've got line 1, line 2, line 3, etc. So the line item was line 1, position 2. We're now going to hide that because we don't need to see that. Again, we save, just step back from the transaction and then go back in again, and you'll see those changes have been made. You can also as well move very quickly fields. So we'll move the material number now up to the first line. So using the SAP directory. So again, this is where the solution can be used across multiple languages because we use the standard SAP language packs. We can now move this across to the new line, and we've now got the full description on display. Now, if we wanted to also draw attention to a particular field, so in this case, the storage bin, we want to make that larger. So we're going to just change the size of the value, and we'll change the color of it as well to hex color code for red. If we go back out and go back in. So in this example, we've basically shown some of the capability. We've removed some of the fields that weren't required, and we've repositioned some of the others so that we give a nicer look and feel to the screen. Having the ability to add hint text as well speeds up the user's understanding of how to use the device. Now, we've also as well removed even more information from that screen so that you have just the storage bin and the amount to pick potentially in the verification buttons. But also taking away those function keys and using the 3-dot menu just gives you a very nice, easy to use looking application. So that was the example for EWM for an unload, showing the additional capability of image capture. Now we've shown you the configuration screen and how quick and easy it is to manipulate. I'm now going to hand back to Mike just to run through the benefits.
Thanks, Danny. So yeah, in summary, this is an out-of-the-box solution. There's no need for any interfaces or middleware, and also no need for any ABAP development. It's all configuration, so it puts it in the hands of the functional consultant or even the key user in many cases. When we deliver this solution, we deliver all of the product documentation, etc., so that the full handover, knowledge transfer, so that the customer is completely self-sufficient in this product. It offers a world-class user experience. So the users might be used to using something like ITS Mobile, which is very, very clunky, very old-fashioned looking. This product looks more like something that you would see on an iPhone or on a Samsung device, for example. That really helps to increase employee engagement, reduce that training time that I mentioned before as well. It also offers enhanced functionality. One thing I did mention before was the dropouts of the Wi-Fi. This covers any dropouts in Wi-Fi for things like cold stores and remote warehouses as well, etc. We also offer functionality for IM, which is not available as standard from SAP. And it also takes advantage of all of the features on the device. So, for example, the camera, we can show images of, as Danny showed, damages, for example, non-conformance. But we can also add pictures to the material master and have that available for picking, etc., just to make sure that the right product is being picked at the right time. And then finally, as we demonstrated, the analytics, this is very powerful. This is very configurable. And as we can see there on the screen, it shows the red, amber, green. So when things go into the red sector, we can trigger emails, etc., alerts. And this information can also be shown on a great big screen in a warehouse or in an office, showing real-time data from SAP. So this is also not a brand new product. It's been around for a while. Our very first go live was around about 7 years ago now, in 2015. We have over 1,000 users at one particular customer and over 20,000 users globally. As I mentioned before, it's SAP endorsed. It's available on the SAP App Store. But we feel a real key differentiator with this product is the speed of deployment. So our quickest go live from the call from the customer right through to going live with this solution was 3 weeks. Don't get me wrong, that was a very focused customer who had an event that they needed to be ready for, but it just shows the capability of this product in terms of rapid deployment. Typically, we would be looking at around 6 to 8 weeks to deploy this product, which in SAP project terms is very, very quick. Okay, and that concludes our presentation today. As Tracy mentioned at the start, if there are any questions, please put them in the chat or open questions to us now. Many thanks for listening. Tracy, are you there?
think Tracy may have had to have left, so we'll just take some questions. I see Bram is placing one in the chat. Yeah, absolutely. So is it possible to migrate custom existing RF from LM01 transactions? So yeah, exactly. So with the WM transactions, like saying using LM01, we can take that functionality and utilize that with the pre-built platform. We also as well have other applications as well. So we've enhanced what the standard SAP offering is. So we've taken the standard processes where you're doing things like confirmations of transfer orders, whereas we've now got a whole suite that you can basically do things like your inventory counting, stock inquiry with bin to bin moves. You can issue stock to cost centers, issue it to production orders or production staging. There's multiple things that we can do with pre-built that the standard LM01 can't. And again, it has that additional functionality of being able to add things like image capture, image display throughout those whole processes also. Plus, it links nicely with the analytics application. So again, that is a true innovation, pulling all of that information from SAP.
Yeah, just to add to that, Danny. Yeah, so if you have Z transactions, for example, yes, we can accommodate those Z transactions in pre-built. Some of the rapid deployment that I mentioned might be affected by that, obviously, because we need to match your Z coding and the Z transactions. So it might lead to a slightly longer lead time in terms of deployment, but it's absolutely possible.
Yeah, so in terms of the cannot do it yourself, LM01 is very limited to what you can do with it. If you were to regard that as SAP's version 1, even if you were to throw thousands of hours at it to manipulate it and build the screens how they would look, you'd still end up with version 1 at the end of it. Whereas pre-built basically has got thousands of hours of development already behind it. So you take that utilization, all that experience up front straight away, so you instantly have the next latest and greatest version and all that additional functionality. So nothing is lost. So as Mike said, if you already have any bespoke transactions, we can do a conversion from your standard SAP into our pre-built. But then once you've got it converted, you then have all of those fantastic layers that you can then go in and manipulate. So nothing is lost. You just gain all of that additional expertise. Now, in terms of that you cannot do it yourselves, once you've got pre-built, as Mike said, we give you the the configuration guides and the user guides, so that should you want support, then gladly we're here to help. But if you want to do it yourselves, you'll have the user guides, some knowledge transfer sessions, so that you can then do it yourselves.
There's a question from Joris as well. For small warehouses not having WM yet, can this run on IM, just supporting the goods movements for execution? Absolutely, Joris. Yes, this can be used for IM, which again is a differentiator we feel for this product, because IM is not mobility in IM is not standard in SAP. But yes, this supports IM. What we're finding as well, Joris, is with customers with various different warehouses. So sometimes they have, for example, their manufacturing facility, and then they have a small warehouse, and then they have a series of depots. They can use IM in the very small warehouses. They use WM in the slightly bigger warehouse, and then potentially EWM in the manufacturing facility with the warehouse alongside it. The point about that, though, is the user experience across all of those modules is the same. It's exactly the same. So for training purposes, we can move people between warehouses seamlessly. They don't need to be retrained across the different processes. It's very easy to pick up, very intuitive.
But also as well, to add to that, with the IM, it's not just the goods receipt application that we have. You can also have outbound picking applications. You can have inventory counting in applications, as well as like stock inquiry with bin to bin or slock to slock applications also. And we've got as well the IM bin managed applications also. So within your material master data, you can set a fixed bin, and the application can utilize that. So again, giving you like a picking strategy where you can see the bins where you're supposed to be picking materials from. And things like your inventory counting and stuff like that. So utilizing a next level of information, almost a WM light solution. Are there any other questions?
So another question from Bram, what would be the licensing model? So the licensing model, this is software as a service. It is an annual subscription per user. So it's not per device, as you are sort of mentioning there. For 100 forklifts, it would be the users using the forklifts, for example.
So any examples of price?
So yeah, Bram, I can provide you with some pricing details for 100 users. That's not a problem. I'll take your email address and send you that separately, if that's okay. So this so in terms of SAP versions, Danny, we mentioned it's ECC 6,
yeah,
and all the way up to S4 HANA.
Danny,
yeah, do you know which version of ECC 6 we go to?
I think it was down to 1609, and we're up to the latest, whatever. I think that was the 2020 latest version.
Joris, we can check which support packs, etc., of ECC 6 that you need to be on, so we can send you that information. And in terms of the mobile devices, it's iOS. It's also Android version 7 onwards, I believe, Danny.
Yeah.
And also Windows Mobile as well. No problem.
Are there any more questions? Okay. So on screen, we still have our contact details. So if you want to get in touch, reach out to Mike Nicklen or just directly to the config team, and we can share some more information with you.
Sure, and of course you can find us on LinkedIn, etc. as well. Many thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.